Welcome back, Commander.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
It seems that the Allies have not only managed to capture the blueprints to building MiGs of their own, but they've also gotten the ability to build nukes.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
It's also the first mission where we actually get to control Tesla tanks. We've seen them quite a few times on the Allied side, and here again we see them as using the radar jammer sprite.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Waiting.
I guess it's safe to say now, because really it doesn't change all that much, but it should be noted that the Tesla tanks that we see here are not the same as the Tesla tanks we see in the Aftermath DLC. At some point between the two expansions, Westwood decided we should probably give these guys their own special unit sprite.
Yes, sir.
We'll see it later, so I won't spoil exactly how they look. Suffice to say, it's interesting.
Unit ready.
Oh, and I maybe had to restart once, so I expect a few shenanigans.
Reporting.
Unit lost.
Waiting order. Awaiting orders.
Unit ready. Building.
Now, at first, it might seem interesting that the peculiarities of this mission, specifically the Allies have planes and their MiGs, and they also drop nukes. Eventually, hopefully not.
Waiting order.
But
Unit ready.
this is probably one of the only truly bad missions.
Comrade, vehicle report. Affirmative.
And I say this as somebody who, I really enjoy everything that's up for offer.
Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
But this one,
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
if you're grinding your teeth at the end of it, it seems like that's the expected outcome.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. No problem.
So yeah, Tesla tanks are actually pretty good. They deal a decent amount of damage. I wouldn't say it's great or anything, but then again, I haven't checked exactly how much it is. But the range also goes very nice with that Tesla coil capability.
Yes, sir.
The only downside is that they're rather flimsy, so
Yes, sir.
you kind of have to use their speed to the best of your ability. Having them get caught out by almost anything is pretty much a recipe for disaster.
Unit ready. Building.
Oh, and there's one of the MiGs. It's hasn't been that long into the mission. And yeah, there goes a nuke.
Yes, sir. Reporting.
You'll note that there's a very interesting problem related to all this.
Waiting order.
Although maybe I'll give it about
Yes, sir.
20 more seconds
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order.
before it becomes truly apparent what the problem is, of course.
Comrade, reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
I heard a parachute.
Acknowledge.
Unit lost.
So, remember how I didn't really ever like A-10s in Tiberian Dawn?
Building.
And how, the Soviets don't really have much to counter air units. And then you have the fact that nukes, while rarely seen in the basic campaign, are actually really strong. You can probably see where I'm going with this. The fact that you can make the AI shoot at itself or destroy its own base is funny, to say the least. But there's something particularly annoying about this whole endeavor.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Waiting order. Comrade, reporting. Affirmative.
ready.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Awaiting or acknowledged. Await. Acknowledged.
Obviously, the most important part of it, which you could have heard the parachute sound there, is that if you don't quite keep track of which unit the AI is most likely going to target,
Reporting.
Lost.
you're going to lose some units.
Comrade. Yes, sir. Awaiting or acknowledged. Affirmative.
The next problem, obviously, is, well, if you lose all your units in the field, what's left?
Building.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Comrade.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Not to say that the AI selects its target at random, but,
Yes, affirmative.
well,
Acknowledged.
if you're not careful, you're kind of putting anything you have at risk.
Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
And if you happen to be using a slower unit, then you're kind of screwed no matter what.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yeah, the MiG has the same sort of caveat as the Yak does, where it seems to throw the nuke
Acknowledged.
at least, like, I don't know, I'd guesstimate what 3 tiles is, but as a distance. So something around there. But if you're not careful, you end up losing some vital units, like a Tesla tank. And then you have other units that discover some hidden stuff.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
And then air power comes in and,
Building.
screws you over in the other ways.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Number one.
Lost.
Affirmative.
Insufficient.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it's not all that fun to play against this. I was hoping I could get the AI to nuke its own, construction yard, or at least barracks, but that didn't work.
Affirmative. Yes. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes.
And this is sort of the problem. Again,
Acknowledged.
you don't really have any way of stopping the MiG. Even if you did, like, say, SAM sites, you still have to build them. And right now I'm already out of money.
Affirmative.
And a SAM site isn't exactly mobile, so if something was to happen, and a MiG was to come up against your base,
Acknowledged.
well, let's just say a SAM site might not survive too long.
Yes, sir. Comrade. Acknowledged. Comrade.
Now, I thought that there might be some loss condition if you happen to lose your last Tesla tank, but thankfully that's not the case.
Yes, sir. Agreed. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Awaiting.
On the plus side, you can almost set your watch to the MiG, as it seems to always go out, regardless of,
Acknowledged.
how many targets, it's always attacking.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
And so here's the problem. The MiG went back to reload. As far as I know, the MiG will never change target once it decides what to attack. So I need to be careful as to what I'm doing.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unfortunately for me, that seemed to be a nuke over at this harvester.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
And let's face it,
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
trying to micromanage harvesters to attack or to evade nukes
Acknowledged.
is not exactly pleasant.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Waiting. Yes, sir. Perfect. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Perfect. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Insufficient funds.
Another thing that sucks is that,
On hold.
again, with the whole having to micromanage harvesters,
Yes, sir.
yes, a harvester can tank a nuke and survive and not really have any issues, especially since it'll heal up back to 50%.
Acknowledged.
The problem ends up being that if you don't know specifically which harvester it's targeting,
Perfect. Acknowledged.
it seems to do something like closest on the left and then maybe from the bottom. I don't know. It's certainly not the old A10 method, where it's literally whatever the most vertical thing is. But the problem is that you take your eye off a harvester for even a moment, and next thing you know, you've got a nuke somewhere in your own base. Again, you don't have any means of stopping them. I'd suggest something along the lines of maybe it's possible to destroy the MiG and then the AI won't replace it. Frankly, I'll believe that that's true, but if that's even possible to arrange with the AI, sure, but it takes a lot of doing. And don't get me wrong, I like the idea of, the Allies suddenly get an actual air unit that's not just a Apache, and it has, devastating capabilities. But when it's as good as a nuke and they get them every 30 seconds, that's where it starts to really suck. It also turns out that the AI has some means of producing units, or at least gaining supply, or not supply, income. Or else, how could it produce this medium and light tank? Maybe it's getting freebies, sure, but that just means it's another thing that's, kind of straining your ability to fight back. Or, I guess more specifically, progress in the mission.
Unit lost. Insufficient fund.
So, MiGs nuking harvesters, Allied units being sent to chase after said harvesters. Where's the justice? Especially when nukes drop on tanks that you're not paying attention because you're trying to save a harvester. And anyways. So obviously the next thing to do, since there doesn't seem much in the way of an Allied base to defend from, might as well sell whatever walls we can. And while we're at it, let's see what we can explore. I guess you could suggest to, capture the enemy construction yard and whatever, but I feel like that's just the first target the AI is going to send nukes after, so what's the point, really? The other thing, too, that's going to become rapidly apparent is that, well, how do we get to this MiG? So far, we've seen water just about everywhere, and while I haven't completely scouted the Allied base, it's hard to believe there's something that's going to be at the bottom there. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you put that much of a coastline on the map and things start to get a little fishy, as if that's where we're supposed to go. And there's an example of just how annoying this is, because I don't have any way of getting funds now, and I don't want the AI to nuke his own shipyard, because I probably actually need it. And yeah, it turns out that it is actually a map, an island map. So, and it's not just any island map. Like, the AI can only, you can only land on that island from the southern side. So you can't really be that sneaky. At this point, I was trying my best just to do whatever damage I could. Trying to snipe buildings from outside my view and anything really. But then that sort of thing happens where all of a sudden the progress I tried to make is immediately evaporated. And yeah, it also seems that the AI is able to rebuild MiGs, which is really frustrating. I'll say this, if the map involved just having to deal with one MiG, and if you shot it down, that was fine, that'd be great. Because let's face it, everything I can build from the start has absolutely zero AA capabilities. So it means you'd either have to capture an enemy barracks, which, requires some effort, or if you can manage to drag the MiG up into your base where the SAM sites are, you can destroy it that way. Either way you slice it, that would be neat. This way is just kind of just frustrating, to be honest. I swear, though, I know I said that the maps are much better in the last video. I really do like these missions. This one, I like it for how interesting it is in the MiG aspect, how it has nukes and so on. I just think the execution needed more work. And because you have to destroy everything on the map tediously, this is the only way I can progress. I figured the civilian buildings is probably just me being safe. I also have no other recourse. Like, I'm out of funds. I have nothing else I can do here. So you just kind of have to play your cards right.
Affirmative. At once. At once. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. At once.
Yeah, you can't capture the airfield either. I mean, technically you could, but, it's gonna nuke itself long before you ever get the chance.
Agreed. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Like, the only way I can even think of it happening is
Affirmative.
maybe if you send, like, a vehicle, or you send a unit, and it takes the absolute minimum amount of, like, splash damage. It's, like, on the furthest tile. Maybe that doesn't, kill it in one shot. I don't know. And then you quickly send in an engineer.
Reporting. Very well.
Even then, though, I don't know.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Maybe just, have the medium tank go in alone, have an engineer on standby, like in a transport, and hope the MiG goes after a harvester. That way you got way more time with it. I don't know.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yeah, this is the game just being annoying. Right at the end.
Reporting. Very well. Reporting. Approach points. Ready at once.
Mission accomplished.